Hey y'all, it's your girl Barbie J here. Welcome to my channel, June BLC. Hey there, everybody. It's your girl Barbie J here with the recap and review of Tyler Perry's comedy drama, Sisters, Season 8, Episode 8, Appearances. This episode was okay. But there was a lot of things that I could easily pick apart. And I didn't really want to do a thorough review because it just wasn't making sense. I don't know what these writers are thinking, y'all, but some of the stuff just didn't make any sense. So before I get into this recap and review, if you're new here or if you're returning here and have not subscribed to this channel as of yet, please take a moment right now and hit that subscribe button. Then hit the notification bell and select all. It will let you know every time I upload any new content to this channel. Then I ask that you smash that like button. That's the thumbs up button. Write a comment, join the conversation, and give your 2 cents and share because sharing is caring. Now, the episode starts off with the doctor talking to Hudson, and he's letting him know that Gary is a very resilient patient. And here comes Penelope, who's been hovering around, talking about, you know what else is resilient? Cockroaches. They refuse to die, just like Gary. And he was like, who are you? And she said, hi, I'm Penelope, his fiance. And he said, I thought the other lady, the nice lady, Andy Barnes, was his fiance. And then Hudson is like, you know what? This is a family matter. Let me talk to her. So the doctor leaves saying he got patients to check on anyway. And so as Hudson and Penelope are talking, she blurts out that the world would be in a better place without Gary Borders, and Hudson says something about, I thought, you were supposed to be in some type of witness protection or something like that. And she was like, who needs witness protection since Gary's dying? He's like, didn't you hear what the doctor said? He's making a recovery. She said, oh, what a pity, or something like that. And he said, wow, I thought Andy was the ultimate bitter whore that wanted to take Gary out, but maybe I was wrong. I said, dude, you was wrong. You were totally wrong. And that's what we've been trying to tell you. Anyway, she finally leaves, and then Andy arrives to the hospital, and Hudson comes at her with so much animosity, it was ridiculous. And she's like so nicely put him in check and told him that she did show up last night, but visiting hours was over. So they start going back and forth because Hudson thinks he could just talk down to Andy all the time. He's just jealous because Gary loves him some Andy. And I don't know about the rest of y'all, and I think I said it before. Hudson is the one who's jealous of Andy too. He's jealous of her, and so is Penelope. Let's get real because Gary is crazy over her. Hudson's doing all that dirt for him and stuff, but he doesn't look at Hudson. He don't care that much about him. He just cares about Andy, who he said is treating him bad. And then Penelope, she done had his baby and everything, but she can't stand it that Gary loves Andy more than her. So as I was saying, Andy and Hudson are going back and forth, and at one point he compares himself to Fatima. And Andy tells him to keep her name out of his mouth. And he said, I will if you keep robbing Audrey's penis out of yours. And she slapped the crap out of him. And he said, you're going to regret that. I'm like, she need to make him regret what he said. She should have kneed him in his balls at that. I'm sorry, y'all. But I mean, he deserved that. That was so low. What he did was ridiculous. And she told him the first thing she going to do when Gary gets out of the hospital is have Hudson removed as power of attorney. And she said the second thing she's going to do, and she got up in his face and said, I'm going to have my man fire your ass. And that's when Penelope showed up and heard it. She came back because she forgot her pocketbook. And I'm not sure why she keeps putting her handbag down on a freaking chair. It makes no sense. Women do not do that while they talk. Put their handbag down. And she had a little bag at that. But somehow Penelope heard Andy say that in a low voice to Hudson, that she's going to have her man fire his ass. We could see where she was. How did she even hear that? That's why this don't even make any sense. I'll be honest. Anyway, so next we have Creisha showing up at Danny's house, and Danny tells her that she thinks she's losing her man and losing her mind. And Creisha's like, okay, so what's going on? She's like, what are you talking about? And so Danny starts explaining some of the stuff that's going on. And Creisha loves that Danny's for her expression of self-love for herself. She thinks is great. But then she could tell that Danny wasn't telling her the entire truth and leveling with her. And she said, I can't help you if you're not going to tell me the truth. You know what I mean? So she finally explains and tells more detail as Creisha pulls it out of her. And Creisha thinks that they have more work that needs to be done. So then Creisha starts telling her what they were doing was cognitive behavioral therapy. And then as they were talking, she said it was also talk therapy. And she's asking Danny to find a way to express herself without using explicitives, and communicating rationally with her loved ones when she's upset. So Danny is understanding and listening, but she also is fighting it too, because then Creisha starts talking about how she wants to discuss Danny using sex, marijuana, and alcohol as crutches when life gets overwhelming for her. So Danny says, they help her keep her calm. And Creisha's like, I'm not trying to take your vices away from you, but she wants to discuss healthier tools for Danny to use to help her deal with her anxiety. So Danny said the journaling didn't work all the time. So Creisha said, then let's discuss some new tools for you to use that are healthier. So now we have this scene with Sabrina and Rich kissing at the juice bar. Why are they in the juice bar kissing and stuff while his customers are in there? They like making out when Karen comes in wearing this cute little striped dress. Finally, they got her in some cute little maternity dress. But I ain't lying, y'all. Her stomach looks smaller than it used to be. I'm not kidding. It looked much bigger in that black. And black's supposed to make you look small, y'all. So I don't know what's going on, but something looks different. Y'all put it down in the comment section if y'all noticed it yourselves. Anyway, Sabrina's supposed to be helping Karen and Pam with their business plan to get Roots to Riches up and running professionally, I guess, while they're sipping on them breakfast smoothies made from berries that the babies were craving. Like, I thought it was so cute. But anyway, after they finish with the business plan, for some crazy reason, Sabrina starts talking to Karen about being in a relationship with a man and having love in your life. Don't you ever worry about finding love again? And Karen is like, oh, please stop it. I am pregnant. Do you see? I got enough love from my mama and my sisters. I'm good. And then she had to tell her, these two little babies in my stomach, they ain't going to give me all the love I need. And I'm going to give them all my love. And she's trying to tell Sabrina. And Sabrina's like, what about an ex-flame or an ex-lover and all this stuff? She said, what about Aaron and stuff? I was like, oh my God, is she really going there with it? Just because he's one of the baby's fathers, I should be booed up with him? She's like, so I was like, So she asked her, where's this all coming from? And she said, I just don't want y'all to be alone. What makes you think a man is, being with a man is what will stop you from being alone? You know how many women are out there in relationships with men and they feel alone? Sabrina sound crazy. These writers, I don't know where they're getting this from, but it was nuts. And then they even mentioned something about Zack. And Karen's like, me and Zach been through, probably even before he met Fatima. And I'm just hoping we could get through this co-parenting together and everything will work out. La da la da la. And that was that. She was like, basically Karen was like, okay, Sabrina, just drop it. But what's crazy is, doesn't Sabrina see the drama she's going through with Rich all the time and with her wanting to have a child? She's not even thinking. She's not having a good time dealing with him. She's always stressed out about Rich as well. Anywho, so next we have this scene with Fatima telling Zach about Robin and how he thinks what happened with Fatima and Gary's goons by pushing her to the ground gave them motive to kill Gary. So now Zach thinks they're going to jail and he's losing his mind. So Zach and Fatima are sitting on the bed and they're talking about it. And he's like, I got it. I know what we could do. He said, you got a killer on speed dial. Let's get her to take care of it. Fatima's like, are you crazy? These are people we talking about. He's like, so they trying to give you a hard way at work. They double teaming you and get rid of them and all this stuff. He just losing his mind. So Fatima says she can't put a finger on Robin's angle. She don't know what is going on with him. And then Fatima says she feels like Hayden is hiding something. And she said if he is the one who stabbed Gary, she wants to serve him up on a silver platter to Agent Watt. She said trying to kill him wouldn't be good enough or something like that, she said. And so they were thinking about it and trying to figure out how they're going to do it, what's the plan, how they're going to handle things. And Fatima said, okay, this is what we're going to do. Zach, you have to follow Hayden's every move. And she said, and I'll figure out, what's going on with Penelope. Because I don't know, I can't remember how they mentioned Penelope, but she thinks something's up with her as well. Oh, because they talked about that movie with Martin Lawrence, A Thin Line Between Love and Hate. And he said, if we go based on that movie, it's between Andy and Penelope who might have did something to, Gary. So that's why she said, yeah, then let me check out Penelope. Anyways, back at the hospital, Andy and Penelope are talking, and she's telling Penelope that she said, my man, for Hudson's benefit. And then she tells her again that she's not in love with Gary and that she's at the hospital for optics. She says she still loves Jordan, but Penelope doesn't believe her, then puts her handbag down on the chair. Instead of putting it in her other hand, she puts it down on the chair again. I don't understand what that is, why she keeps doing that. That's dumb. Women don't do that. Anyway, she starts with the pointing in Andy's face, telling her again that she don't believe her and that she did all this to try to break her and Gary up, and that she needs to stay away from her brother. And then Hudson shows up and said, are you two still at it? And then Andy said, Hudson, did you find out anything about Gary? And he says, yes, Gary is done with his test and is asking for you again. And Penelope got so mad. She was like, see, first thing he do is wake up and he asks for you and stuff. I was like, she is jealous, y'all. I keep telling y'all, Penelope is jealous that Gary truly loves Andy and not her. So she insists that everything Andy says and everything she does, it was all about her getting Gary for herself. And she know good and darn well it wasn't true, but she can't help it. She can't help it now because she lost her baby and now she's blaming Andy for everything. But it was truly her fault because nobody told her to confront Gary while she was pregnant. Andy told her to pack her stuff and leave, and Penelope can't take it. I told you I think she probably was the one who stabbed him anyway because the way she was acting. And plus she checked herself out of witness protection or private custody or whatever it was she was in. Anywho, she picks up her handbag and walks out. And Hudson walks out right behind her. And I thought that was suspicious. I'm like, well, why are you walking out right with her? She's the other ex who is the real piece of work, not Andy. Anyhow, now over at the airport, Higher Airlines, and Tony comes by and asks Danny how her session went with Cretia. And I'm like, why does he need to know how it went? Isn't therapy something personal? Why does he always ask her? Does he share with her when he goes to his sessions? I'm just saying. But anyway, so Danny tells him that she's going to stick it out with the leadership training initiative. And he's like, really? He's like, oh, that's great. Only if you want to. And she said, yeah, she felt it was a good option for her to better herself. And she said Cretia told her she needs to find something to focus on. So Danny hopes focusing on this training will take her mind off of her three vices, which are vodka, vaping, and very kinky sex. And he's like, oh no, baby, maybe you hold off on that last one. We might want to chill on that. She said, I bet you do. So then he kisses her on her cheek and says he's proud of her and that he has to go back to his office. And she's like, okay. And then when she turns around, she sees some female employee eyeballing her. So she must have seen Tony kiss Danny. You know what I mean? Because she had her cell phone in her hand, looked like she's about to start texting somebody. Tony needs to be a little bit more careful with what he does out in the open with Danny at work. Well, baby, now we come to the scene at Brookhaven Bank, and this was probably the best scene in the whole episode because Sabrina had to read Paige. It was too good. I had to write down almost word for word. So she comes into the bank. Sabrina comes into the bank and sees Maurice and Paige standing there almost like looking at each other eye to eye. So Sabrina asks Maurice, how's things going? And he says what he has to say. Then she asks Paige, what about you? How are things? And she goes, permission to speak freely. And Sabrina said, okay. And then she calls out Sabrina for coming in 1 minute late, talking about what her Mima said. If you're late, you're on time. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late, and all this stuff. And Sabrina was like, it really doesn't matter because I'm the boss. And I was like, uh-oh. And so she walks away. And then Paige had the nerve to say, only because affirmative action. Well, Jesus. I was like, no, she didn't. And Maurice was like, please, permission to drag her. Please let me drag her. And Sabrina walked back over to Paige and said, I suggest you say less. And Paige said, well, it's too late because we in the silent majority have spoken, and even the Supreme Court is listening. And Sabrina told her, I'm sure you'd love to think that I got this position because I'm black, but the truth is, I am far more competent and better qualified for this position than you ever will be, and better educated, let me add. And she said, and then told her about the trap that Toni Morrison warned black women about. And she's like, what's that? She said, how you entitled white women constantly ask questions about a black woman's qualifications just to downgrade us, undermine us, and waste our time. And Paige said, I'm not doing that. And then asked, who's Toni Morrison? She thinks it's a man. And so Maurice is like, I'm done here. And Sabrina said, I'm done too. If you need me, I'll be in my office, she said to Paige, and walked away. And Maurice put his hand out, and she's like, what's that for? He said, I picked up your face off the floor for you here. Because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, this bold white woman thinks she all that. And a lot of them are like that. There's a lot of them out there like that. It's sad. I know we call them Karen, but there's too many black Karens to be even using that name sometimes. But it's sad. It's really sad that they think that and they feel like we're stupid and we're not educated just as much as they are. I'm not even going to get into that topic because I'll get myself upset. Anywho, back at the hospital, Andy and Hudson are in the hospital room with Gary. And he tells Andy he has something to tell her when all of a sudden Penelope comes busting in saying she has just as much rights to be in there as Andy does. And Gary is asking, who is this woman? And I'll be honest, I think he's acting because if he remembers Andy and Hudson, he should remember her, I would think. And Penelope says she's not leaving until Gary acknowledges her. So Penelope goes up in his face and says, who am I? And she smacks Gary. And I'm just looking at Hudson, who just stands there with his hands in his pocket. Now, you tell me, he's supposed to care so much about Gary. If Andy does any little thing like touch him, he's all over her. But Penelope could go in there and smack the crap out of Gary, and he does nothing? So Gary asks, what is she talking about? And Andy pulls Penelope away, telling her that Gary is clearly confused. And Hudson said, for the first time, I agree with Andy. He's like, guard, or something like that. And Penelope gets all up in Gary's face, talking about the baby that they created and that he lost and all this stuff. And he's like, what baby? And then Hudson is saying she needs to stop stating that this stress isn't good for Gary. And she said, it's not good for Gary. What about the stress he put me through? So again, Hudson calls for the guard and the doctor comes in and he says he can hear the commotion down the hall. What is going on here? This can't be happening around my patient. They in the ICU and she's causing a scene. And he's like, all of a sudden, that's when Hudson goes and starts finally pulling Penelope out of the room and she's yelling, F you to the doctor and F your patient. I'm like, she is losing her mind. And so after all of this, Dr. Lee leaves and Andy's chasing behind him down the hall. And he tells her that the other woman is banned from visiting Mr. Borders anymore in the ICU. And if Andy isn't careful, she's next. Then she asks him if Gary's memory loss is permanent. As soon as she say that, Hudson comes from around the corner and yells, don't answer that. Then he proceeds to threaten the doctor once again about suing the hospital into bankruptcy if he catches him discussing Gary Borders' health with Andy because he still has power of attorney. Meanwhile, Andy is like texting. It looks like she's texting somebody. And I'm like, wonder who she's texting. And then after the doctor and Hudson leaves, Andy calls someone and says, I need to see you. And I'm like, I wonder who that was. Now they switched over to the salon. Karen walks in there and Pam asks how things went with Sabrina. And Karen told her what happened and what was going on. And then she said, she hopes it's good enough for Miss Marie. And as she say that, Aaron comes into the salon and he asks if what's enough for Miss Marie. So I didn't know that, Aaron was still around in the picture so much. So it's strange that Sabrina asked about him today, and now here he is popping up at the salon. Now we see Fatima arriving at Andy's penthouse, and Andy wants to know the tea about what's going on in the firm. And Fatima tells Andy everything that Robin has done with Andy's caseload, with Fatima having to work with Hayden, and the pics that Robin has of Fatima after Gary's bodyguard pushed her to the ground, and it's almost like he blackmailing her. So she's like, what? And she wants to make a phone call, and he knows that you're my friend. So she said, no, 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 I could take care of him. Don't worry about it. You got enough going on. So then Andy said, you're right, I do. And she started sharing with Fatima about Gary waking up, and also about Jordan, and how Penelope slapped her. And she's like, what? She slapped you? Are you crazy? She said, get up, get up. She's like, what? She said, I'm about to teach you how to fight. So I said, this won't come in handy because everybody keeps saying that Penelope's going to jump Andy in the parking garage. I said, Penelope is a little punk because when you got to sneak attack people, you ain't as bad as you think you are. Everything you do is a sneak attack. I keep telling y'all she's so in love with Gary, and she hates that Gary's more in love with Andy. And finally, it ends with Penelope sitting in a car in a garage. I think she's at the hospital, if you ask me. And then all of a sudden, Jordan jumps in the car asking her, why is she there? And she said, I went to see Gary. He said, okay. Did you go see him as a concerned ex-fiance? Or did you come to finish off what you did the night you stabbed Gary? And I was like, oh, snap. But then I thought about it. This is too soon for them to tell the truth. So we know it wasn't Penelope who did it. Let's be real, y'all. Because then in the previews for next week, you see that she's like, he's saying he found her with blood all over her. And she was like, but was it Gary's blood and all this stuff? Like, she don't even know. I was like, look at here, look at here. How did she have blood on her? And then there was supposed to have been blood all over Andy's wedding dress. I was like, this is such BS. These writers don't know where they going and where they coming. I don't know. I'm telling y'all, it's so confusing. And this is why people are falling off from watching Sisters, because it's not making any sense. Literally, it is not, y'all. Anywho, y'all let me know down in the comment section what y'all thought about this episode. And I will see you all in the next video. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. It's your girl, Barbie J, saying peace.